Hello everyone, welcome to The Hindu Current Affairs for Beginners, a unique initiative by Law Excellence. Before starting our today's session, first let us see answers for the questions from our previous video. The first question is, consider the following statements. Solar energy has the highest share among the renewable energy resources. From this you can see here that the largest share among the renewable energy resources is from hydro. This is because of adding large hydro project into this renewable energy category. Here you can see that hydro alone comprises of 41.45% of total energy mix comparing to the other renewable energy resources. So we can say here the first statement is incorrect because it is the hydro energy which has the highest share, not solar. Whereas solar comes in the third place after wind. Large hydropower projects are included under non-solar renewable purchase obligation. Yes, this statement is correct. What is this renewable purchase obligation? It is an obligation on distribution companies to purchase certain percentage of energy from renewable energy resources, renewable sources. And this renewable purchase obligation is of two types. One is solar and the other thing is non-solar. Under non-solar, wind, tidal, hydro, biopower, all these will come under. So now these large hydropower projects, after acquiring this renewable energy status, they will be included under this non-solar renewable purchase obligation. So the second statement is correct. The answer here is B, 2 only. The next question is, with regard to West Nile virus, consider the following. It causes neurological diseases and it even leads to death. Yes, the natural host of this virus is birds. Yes, because birds are the natural host feeding on whom the mosquitoes will get infected, which in turn will infect the human beings and other animals. And it is the same family of virus that causes dengue and yellow fever. Yes, even this statement is correct. Not only yellow and dengue fever, but also Japanese encephalitis. And the virus is flavivirus. So, as all the three statements were correct, the answer here is D, 1, 2 and 3. Now, let's start today's session, and these are all the topics that we are going to cover in our today's video. The first article is, cVIGIL app now features GPS and complaint tracking system. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of polity. And the subtopic here is Election Commission. This cVIGIL is an innovation of Election Commission. This is a user-friendly app that can be used by the citizens to report to the Election Commission if there is any violation of Model Code of Conduct during elections. When the app was initially introduced, this can be used only in the Android-based systems, but now it got extended to even iPhones. Using this app, anyone, whoever belongs to a state where the election is going on, they can report violations to the Model Code of Conduct. And this Model Code of Conduct will come into effect from the date of announcement of elections. From the day the elections were announced, and it will last till a day after the polls. So, any political party or any candidates or anybody, if they violate the Model Code of Conduct in this period, in the state where the elections were going on, by using this app, citizens can immediately report on the incidents of misconduct without going to the office of returning officer to file a complaint. Only thing they need to do is they need to click a picture or record a video and upload it in this app. The location mapping will be done by the app using Geographic Information System. And after the successful submission of a picture or a video regarding the violation of Model Code, the citizen will get a unique ID. in order to track and receive the follow-up updates on his or her mobile. And a citizen can report many incidents in this manner, and for each incident a new unique ID will be generated. And what about the identity of the person who complained? That will be kept confidential. That will not be revealed by the Election Commission. The next article is Group of Ministers on Lynchings, Harassment on Hold. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. So this article is all about the government has put on hold to the group of ministers that was constituted to suggest measures on anti-lynching due to the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. The government has created a group of ministers that was headed by the Home Minister Rajnath Singh, and this committee is to look after the sexual harassment of women at workplace. They have to focus on that issue. And another committee, another group of ministers committee that was headed by the Union Home Secretary Rajiv Gauba. This committee was constituted to look into this issue of mob lynching. Both the government panels, they have to suggest what are the ways and what are the legal means available to effectively deal with the incidents of mob lynching as well as sexual harassment of women at workplace. And the committee related to this anti-lynching headed by Rajiv Gauba, they have already submitted their recommendations, but they are yet to be finalized. If we see what are its recommendations, it said that the social media platforms, they need to act in a time-bound manner. Like Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube and Twitter, they should be made accountable for not blocking any malicious posts or videos when it was brought to their notice. A first investigation report, FIR, should be lodged against their country heads for non-compliance of government orders, and they should be prosecuted under the law. This is regarding this social media platforms. And the other thing is they have suggested to tighten the law by inserting the clauses in the Indian Penal Code as well as the Code of Criminal Procedure through parliamentary approval. These are the recommendations that were given by Rajiv Gauba's committee, but these are yet to be finalized by the government. But now, due to the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, both these committees were put on hold. The next article is India reaches out to Mozambique. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of disaster management. Mozambique is a country belongs to African continent, and this region was hit by a cyclone named Idai. So our Indian Navy had launched a humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operation in coordination with the local officials in order to evacuate about 5,000 people who were stranded in Mozambique. What is important for us is this humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Our Navy has made this operation as a major tool for its foreign cooperation initiative in the Indian Ocean region, which has a high incidence of natural disasters. And the Indian Navy will conduct this humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise every year. The objective of this is to validate that the Indian Navy's capability to provide immediate disaster relief assistance after the disaster. Even in 2018, a joint humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise known as Chakravat was organized by the Indian Navy in coordination with the Kerala government. The next article is Disempowering Gram Sabhas. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, what is important from the prelims point of view is various forest rights acts as well as their provisions. And this entire article is about The Supreme Court's order to evict 1.8 million Adivasi and forest dwelling people under the Forest Rights Act of 2006. So now let us see what is this Forest Rights Act of 2006. According to this act will deal with the rights of forest dwelling communities. It will deal with the rights of forest dwelling communities. On what rights? On land and other resources like ownership. This act will grant the legal recognition of those rights. It will grant legal recognition to the rights of traditional forest dwelling communities. Here we have said that it is to provide various rights. Rights like title rights. Title rights in the sense to provide ownership to the land that is being farmed by the tribals or forest dwellers, and that land should be up to maximum of 4 hectares only, and ownership will be provided only for the land that is being cultivated, but no new land will be granted. What about the other rights? Use rights. So here this act will also grant rights to the forest dwelling communities to use the minor forest to produce and to graze these areas. There are other rights like relief and development rights. In case of rehabilitation due to illegal eviction or forced displacement, they have to be provided with rehabilitation and relief measures. What about the other acts like forest management rights? This act also provides the rights to protect the forest as well as wildlife. Then what about eligibility? Is everybody who are dwelling in the forest will be granted with these rights? No. Eligibility to get the rights under this Forest Rights Act of 2006 is restricted only to the people who will primarily reside in the forest and who depends on forests as well as forest land for their livelihood. And the claimant, whoever is seeking for the rights, she or she should be a member of scheduled tribes that is listed in that area, and that claimant must be residing in the forest for 75 years. Then only the person will be granted with these rights under this act. How these rights will be recognized? This act has provided the major role to Gram Sabha, which is also known as a village assembly. This Gram Sabha will initially pass a resolution recommending the names of the persons whose rights to which resource should be recognized. There will be a people for whom and all these rights should be conferred. That recommendation will be passed by Gram Sabha, and this resolution will then be screened and approved at the level of subdivision, which is also known as taluka, and later at the district level. Finally, and this screening committee will consist of 3 government officials, one from forest, one from revenue side, and the other from tribal welfare departments, and 3 elected members of the local body at that level, 3 government officials as well as 3 local body members at that level. And this committee will also hear the appeals from people, and later it will approve the rights. The next article is US report flags curbs on Indian media. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations. From this article, now we are going to see about a concept known as World Press Freedom Index. This index is released by France-based International non-governmental organization known as Reporters Without Borders. This is the non-governmental organization based in France that releases this World Press Freedom Index. And according to this index of 2018, India is ranked at 138th position out of 180 countries. And Norway is ranked in the first position. What are the parameters that were considered by this index? These are the parameters that were considered by this index in order to formulate it. It includes media pluralism and independence and respect for safety and freedom of journalists in the country and the legislative, institutional as well as infrastructural environment in which the media will operate. By considering all these parameters in a country, this report will be formulated and this index will be measured. The next article is Forex Swap for liquidity has been received well, says RBI Governor. This article comes under GS Paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, now let us see what is meant by this Forex Swap. Before knowing about Forex Swap, we should know about a measure or a monetary tool used by the Reserve Bank of India known as open market operation. So whenever the Reserve Bank of India feels that there has to be injection of money into the economy, then what RBI does is it used to buy the government securities from banks. So what will happen when it purchases these government securities? It has to give money in return so that banks will use this money and they will invest in their business. They can lend to its customers who will use this money in the investment so that there is money in the economy. So whenever RBI wants to take back money from the economy, then what RBI does is it will sell these government securities. By selling, this Reserve Bank of India is sucking back the money that is available in the economy. By buying, it is liquidating the economy. It is injecting money into the economy. By selling, it is taking back money from the economy. This is the method which the Reserve Bank of India used to do in order to contain inflation and also to the liquidity in the economy. Now, the Reserve Bank of India has come up with a new tool for this liquidity. That tool is known as Forex Swap. This Forex Swap is also like this open market operations, which will put more money in the hands of banks, who will in turn have discretion to decide whether to step up the credit into the market. Here what will happen is the Reserve Bank of India is going to buy $5 billion from banks in a swap deal. So that by buying this, it is going to inject nearly 35,000 crores in the system. So what will happen here is banks will deposit their dollar funds with RBI with a deal to buy this back from RBI after 3 years according to this Forex Swap. And this auction is going to happen on March 26. That means to buy these dollars is going to happen on March 26. And the dollars that were raised through this auction will reflect in the Reserve Bank of India's foreign exchange reserves. Here, the Reserve Bank of India governor is saying that the market response to this foreign exchange swap arrangement that was announced by the RBI has been received very well. So we can say that this Forex Swap, this mechanism is to inject long-term liquidity into the system through this arrangement. The next article is Builders Get GST Leeway till March 31st. This article comes under The next article is Builders Get GST Leeway till March 31st. This article comes under GS Paper 3 under the topic of economy. This entire article is about the GST Council's 34th meeting, which has decided that recently the GST Council has reduced the GST of these under construction residential properties GST rate at 1%, but this is without the input tax credit mechanism. So now in its meeting it has asked the builders to choose between whether they wanted the old GST rate of 12% with input tax credit or the new 1% reduction without input tax credit. So what we need to know from here is we should know about this concept known as input tax credit. The meaning of this input tax credit can be understood if we take the words separately. The one is input and the other thing is tax credit. What is input? Inputs are the materials or services that a manufacturer will purchase. The manufacturer will purchase in order to manufacture his output, his product or services, which is his output. And what about this tax credit? This means the tax a producer will be able to reduce while paying his tax on his output. So let us try to understand this with an example. For example, there is a cotton shirt manufacturer. So his input here is cotton. He purchases 1 kg cotton of worth 100 rupees to manufacture a shirt which is his output, and he purchased this cotton for 100 rupees and he has to pay a central GST of 10% at the rate of 10%. So he has purchased this cotton with 110 rupees. Now he has manufactured his shirt and he wants to sell his shirt at 200 rupees plus tax. According to the GST rate, here for a manufactured shirt, the GST rate is 12%. So 12% of 200 rupees is 24 rupees. So the tax here is 24 rupees. But he has already paid the tax for this 100 rupees of his input, which is 10 rupees. So now he has to pay only the remaining 14 rupees out of this 24 rupees because he already had paid this 10 rupees while purchasing his input cotton. And this is known as this 10 rupees which he can claim is known as input tax credit. Here the manufacturer will pay the tax only on his output so that he can deduct the tax he had already paid on the input he purchased. So while paying the tax on his output, he is deducting or taking credit for the tax he paid while purchasing the input. This is the concept about this input tax credit. Now let's see an article that is a bit factual for prelims. In a first women bags Abel prize for maths. What is this Abel prize? Karen of US has been awarded with this Abel prize for 2019 and she is the first woman to receive this award. She has been awarded this for her works on partial differential equations. That is, it is related to maths. She has been awarded for her work on partial differential equations. This Abel prize is one of the world's most prestigious maths award. It is related to maths and this prize was established by the Norwegian government in 2002 on the occasion of the 200th birth anniversary of Norway mathematician Niels Henrik Abel. And the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters will award this Abel prize. Another prestigious award in this field of maths is the Fields Medal. This is also a prestigious award in the field of maths and this is awarded once in every 4 years on the occasion of International Congress of International Mathematical Union. So this Abel prize is to recognize the scientific achievements in mathematics and also to help boost the status of this field of mathematics in the society and stimulate the children and youth to become interested towards maths. Now let's see today's questions. The first question is, who among the following will publish World Press Freedom Index? And the next question is regarding this Rajiv Gauba's committee and why it is formulated. Try to answer these questions and post your answers in the comment box. In our tomorrow's video, we'll see explanation for these questions. Thank you.